Let me start with a phrase that many of us have said before. I'm grinding. We say it proudly. When someone asks about our work ethic, we say, I'm grinding. It's in our music, it's in our culture, it's in our language. Nipsey Hussle told us that he was grinding all his life. Rick Ross reminded us that every day he was hustling. And Drake built an entire generation on started from the bottom. You got it. Grind, hustle, repeat. Grind, hustle, repeat. But during the pandemic, I heard an influencer say something that stopped me in my tracks. He said, to grind is to be worn down. And that made me pause. Because if to grind means to be worn down, then why are we so excited to describe ourselves in that way? You see, somewhere along the way, we're taught how to work. We're taught how to perform. We're taught how to build our careers. We're taught how to earn benefits. We're taught how to work and just keep our heads down. But we're not taught how to find ourselves. We're not taught how to shut the laptop off and turn our brains down. And my friends, I think we've been lied to. Because hashtags like Team No Sleep, Team The Grind Don't Stop, Team No Days Off, they sound healthy, but they're not. And I know this personally. You see, early in my career, I tied my identity completely to my work. I was a teacher and I was proud. But I didn't just do the job, I became the job. My worth became tied to my performance. And I remember the very first year that I didn't win Teacher of the Year, I was crushed. Not because I didn't love teaching, but because I'd accidentally convinced myself that my worth was tied into an award. My identity was based on something as small as being on time. If I wasn't early, if I wasn't perfect, if I wasn't performing, I felt like I was failing. And over time, that pressure turned into something heavier. Anxiety, panic, fear, fatigue, mental exhaustion. Later, when I transitioned from educational America to corporate America, the structure that I once yearned for, it changed. And like many overachievers do, I tried to compensate by working harder. More hours, more pressure, more proving. More hours, more pressure, more proving. But the more I worked, the more I lost sight of myself. And that's when I learned something that changed my life. Your career is a role, not your identity. And that realization led me to 3 ways in which I now show up. Lesson 1, your identity is expensive. Your job is a role. It represents a fraction of your skills, not the totality of your worth. But many of us hand our identities over to our employers. We say things like, I'm a teacher, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm a consultant. But what happens when the job changes? What happens when the promotion doesn't come? What happens when you leave the role? Or what happens if, like me, you're laid off? If your identity lives inside of your job, then every professional setback feels like a personal failure or a personal attack. And your job and your life are way too expensive to be owned in that way. Lesson 2, boundaries, baby. Your career happens during work hours, but your restoration must happen afterwards. You see, I call this the 9 to 5 and the 6 to 10 boundary. From 9 to 5, you do your job and you do it well. But from 6 to 10, you build your life. You reflect, you reset, you explore who you are outside of your job. Because if every hour of your life is dedicated to work, then you will eventually forget who you are without it. So my friends, we got to learn how to cut that work light off. Lesson 3, use your props. And by props, I mean your support systems. You see, for me during the pandemic, therapy was my strongest prop because mental health doesn't just show up at home. Sometimes your job is the trigger. especially for many Black people who are navigating spaces that were never built with us in mind. And how many of us, by a raised hand, grew up hearing this phrase, what goes on in this house stays in this house. But my friends, healing doesn't work that way. You need someone that helps you to process your transitions. You need someone that helps you to distinguish your personal stress from your professional stress. People who remind you that your job is something you do, not who you are. So here's something simple that I'd like for you to try tomorrow. In the next 24 hours, choose one boundary that helps you to leave work at work. Maybe that means shutting your laptop off. Maybe that means not responding to that Teams message. Maybe that means not negotiating with yourself when you said you get off at 5, but you really got off at 5:23. And then after that, take 30 minutes doing something for you. Pour into you. Rest, reset, reflect. Release that reel you've been holding in the drafts for 3 weeks. Do something for yourself. Because many of us have spent so much time building our careers, we forget to build ourselves. So let me leave you with this. Your career is something you do, not who you are. And when you protect your mental health, your work doesn't suffer, it improves. Because the healthiest version of you is actually the most sustainable version of your success. You are still your number one job. And if you're like me, you're still doing the work. But at the end of it all, the real calling, the real profession, the real role, the real employee, the real job is you. And my friends, we've all got work to do. Thank you.